Hi, my name is John, and if you read the title, you can tell I went through something pretty sad 8 years ago. To give you some context, I went to a pretty good high school in Hawaii. A lot of students go to the Ivy League schools, to MIT, some even to Stanford. And in this environment, it's all about sort of doing well in class, doing a lot of extracurriculars, and getting into a good college. Now, I wasn't really pushed too hard by my parents. They're definitely the opposite of these Asian tiger parents you see. So a lot of it fell on me to push myself if I did want to sort of match my peers. So in middle school, I sort of, in the back of your mind, you're like, well, high school is the time where I try to get into a good college. So I need to, figure out what I'm going to do for the next 4 years. Now, my dad went to Stanford for a master's program in mechanical engineering, and I decided, that'd be cool if I went to Stanford just like my dad. So I decided, okay, well, let's figure out what I need to do to get into Stanford. I wasn't the best student in middle school. I got a bunch of like B's, maybe like an A minus here or there, but like I was, pretty average, maybe below average compared to like all the really smart people that went to my school whose parents are like, like doctors and whatever. Um, so I was like, well, I need to change this. So, I figured out what works for me in school, what doesn't work, how I should best study, and I sort of figured out my method of doing well in classes. I was terrible at memorization, so that was really unfortunate for most of the like high school classes and the SAT, but if you can figure out strategies to sort of get around that, and I did. So in high school, studying really hard because of this like I don't know, I'm being really bad at memorization means you actually have to understand a lot of things and how things relate to each other. This turns out to like benefit me later on, but like in high school when there's just a billion things to memorize, like that understanding doesn't really matter too much. So it kind of hurt me there. So I just had to study really hard, figure out the inner workings of everything, and scrape by like that. And then even worse is the SAT, where you have to memorize a billion words, memorize a bunch of grammar. The math was pretty straightforward. I am good at math, but the other parts, it's just a lot of memorization. So back then the SAT was at a 2400. So then after I get like a 2200 super score with only like a 21 like 40 max individual score, it's pretty good. But when your classmates are getting like 2300 and above, it feels a little bit bad, especially when you're sort of like competing against them to get into your dream school. But anyways, after doing all of that and sort of struggling to find what I like to do outside of school, because as you know, to pad the college resume, you sort of do a lot of things you don't enjoy. Like maybe you join a sport you don't like because it looks good. Maybe you volunteer because it looks good. Maybe you do this other random thing because it looks good rather than what you actually enjoy. To be honest, like I think most people actually just do that, right? Either they're forced by their parents or they do it knowing that it looks good on college applications. But anyways, it is what it is. And eventually it sort of boiled down to the point where like a lot of my self-worth and kind of hopes and dreams were riding on this Stanford decision. Obviously, this is a terrible idea, but back then I was a little bit sort of edgy in terms of how I viewed the world. So I thought life is all about these peaks and valleys of experience. And one of the highest peaks is this college acceptance, right? This was before all of the college acceptance videos, but like even I knew like this is a pretty big decision in the grand scheme of your life, and it sort of sets the tone for the rest of it. So I decided, hey, if I get into Stanford, maybe this will be my like one peak experience, and then the rest of my life will be like never reach that high, but it's like I can rest easy knowing I set a goal for myself and achieved it. And all that hard work did pay off at some point. So this Stanford decision became a little bit more than just a college acceptance. It became a test of my determination, a test of my worth as an individual. Now, the day of December 12th, 2014, I get an email. Your Stanford application has been processed or something like that. I freak out. I'm next to a bunch of people. So the seniors sat in this area called the boat. And I was like, oh God, I'm not reading it here. So there's the boat here, there's the library here, and then right under the library, there's this like bathroom alcove area. So then I go out like right next to the bathroom, like in under the like overhang of the library. And then I open this email. Now I read 4 words. I'm very sorry, and I already know. I know that it's over. And it's just like everything you've worked up for, like for 4, maybe even more years, when that all just disappears in like 2 seconds and 4 words, it's unexplainable how awful that feels. It's like the world is like collapsing. It felt like, sad, angry, confused, frustrated, just all at the same time. And like, dealing with that as like a 18-ish year old, that's rough. Like, you're not prepared to experience something like that. And especially because I put so much weight on it, it made it even worse. What didn't help is right next to me, one of my classmates got in, and that was, did not make me feel any better. But, yeah, so I sort of went back to the boat. I had a 2-hour break before Spanish class, and pretty much just cried that entire time. This is like the only time I've like cried in front of strangers and like other people. Well, they're not strangers, they're my classmates, but like they're definitely not like close friends, And it's like weird if you're crying in front of them, but like how can you hold something so sad in, Then go to Spanish class. I just sad the whole time. I don't even remember really what happens. But yeah, it was just rough. And then I don't really remember the rest of senior year. Like it was all just like thinking how much of a failure I am, and like this is awful. Like what was all of this for? Like why am I doing this? And it was just like a lot of questioning my own like existence. So that was 8 years ago. As I, finished senior year, I graduated. College decisions. So if I was in a decent position to think like I could get into Stanford, my application was pretty strong, right? So I did get into a bunch of other schools, and then I decided to go to Berkeley out of spite. So I went to Cal in 2019. I graduated in 2019. Sorry, in 2015 I went to Cal, and first semester I thought, all right, I'm gonna fail all of these classes. Stanford was right. I'm not smart. I'm gonna get humbled by all these classes that everybody says are super hard. So I decided to take it easy. I took physics and math. So these are both classes I could have AP tested out of from Calc BC and Physics C. But I decided, okay, I guess I'm a dumbass. I'm going to just retake them. So I retook those, and I took 2 units of engineering and then 4 units of history pass, no pass. Now I think if I'm a dumbass, I need to work really hard to get like a B or something. So I work really hard the entire semester. I think, all right, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to get a B, and it's going to prove that the Stanford decision was correct, and I'm meant to be here, like I'm not meant to be there. But then grades come out, I get a 4.0. Granted, it's only 10 graded units. So the next semester I was like, okay, I guess I'll ramp it up, on some level, I want Stanford to be like, right, like you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you haven't done enough. Like you haven't shown us enough for us to say that you would do well in college, right? Like, so then I bump up the difficulty level, and I still get a 4.0, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Now, I don't know how to explain it, but on a deep level, I just wanted Berkeley to destroy me, to validate the experience of Stanford saying, you suck. I just wanted to feel like I sucked. And I mean, obviously this is a dumb thing to say, right? Like, oh, I got a 4.0 at Berkeley. I feel kind of bad. Like, I didn't actually feel bad, but like some part of me was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I'm the failure, like why am I not failing again? Like where is Like, why? I don't even know. Like, uh, this part should be edited out, but I mean, I'm just going at it raw. So it's like I'm going through Berkeley, I'm doing well, and it's like, why didn't Stanford think I could do well there? You know? So I keep going through. I started as mechanical engineering. My entire sort of applications are based around my dad being a mechanical engineer. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll start there. I didn't like it too much, so I double majored in electrical engineering, computer science, and then I graduated in 2019. Now you might be wondering, did you graduate with a 4.0? No, I got a B plus and an A minus. But I mean, overall, with a double major, I think that's a pretty solid academic record. But I still, I don't know. Like, I didn't feel very smart. I was just like, I have to work really hard for these grades, and I guess this chip on my shoulder from Stanford has sort of served as a motivation to like work really hard, because rather than trying to work hard to succeed, I was working hard to not fail, and then it sort of worked out in the end. After that, good grades make it pretty easy to get a job, and I got a pretty good position at my current company. I guess I'll do a review at some point later. Well, you'll probably see it in a like random video here or there, but yeah, I got a good job. I'm working on like chip stuff to be nondescript, but yeah. So I mean, I have a pretty good job, and there's like almost nothing to complain about. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the revenge or pain and triumph story that the sort of movies and like influencers try to tell you, right? Like this is just life. Like sometimes I wish like my life is like way better, that I could say like, oh, getting rejected from Stanford was the best thing that ever happened to me, that it motivated me to do well in school and then get this good job and like do all these crazy things and like turn my life from like a loser to this like massive winner. But it's honestly, it doesn't feel like that. Like sure, it did teach me, I did like figure out good study habits in like pursuing this goal. Like sure, on some level it scared me to doing well in college, which set me up for this path in life, but it really doesn't feel like this villain origin story that sometimes you think about when you think of these kinds of things. It's almost like this rejection is just another story to tell. It's just something that is part of my life but doesn't mean anything anymore. It feels kind of bad to say that, because at the time it really, really did hurt. And I feel bad for the sort of old me that had to go through all of that. And like, staking your entire worth on one college decision is a terrible idea. But I mean, if it worked out, it would have been great. I guess then it's like gambling with your feelings. But I mean, it didn't work out. It really hurt. And like, that was it. On some level, I wanted it to mean something. I still want it to mean something, but I mean, it's like crying over spilled milk. Like, it happened. You clean up the milk, and like, I don't know, maybe you tell someone you spilled milk yesterday, but 8 years from then, I don't know if it's good to think about it anymore. Like sometimes when I'm in the shower, I think, oh, would I be happier if I got in? Would I be down a different path in life? If I'm sad, I'm like, oh, I will always be a failure. And then I think back to this, my greatest failure or whatever. But like, at this point, it's like no more than that. It's just a thought in the back of my mind. Yeah. I don't know. I come to different conclusions every time I think about it. This is just a snapshot of me 8 years later. Maybe like I definitely thought something different 4 years ago. Maybe 20 years out, I'll think something completely different, and I'll have to post a video apologizing for whatever I say today, but it is what it is. Life went on. I did beat myself up over it, but I mean that did push me to do, be motivated in other ways. Yeah. I don't really know how to end this video. There's no life lessons. Maybe it was useful for somebody to hear, but I'm just telling my story, and I'll end it by reading the rejection letter. So I didn't actually read the full thing until I started trying to make this video. This is the fourth take, but so I've read it a couple times already. So, but every time there's some emotion there, and each time it's a little bit less. I think I've read it 4 times now, but until I tried to make this video, I'd only read the first 4 words. So yeah, anyways. Also, the artifacts are gone because this is an 8-year-old email. So imagine the Stanford logo here, and I think this would be a signature or something. Yeah, anyways. Let's continue. Let's read it. December 12, 2014. Dear John, I'm very sorry to let you know that we are unable to offer you admission to Stanford University. Please know that this decision in no way diminishes your application. We are humbled by your talents and achievements and by the commitment you demonstrated in all of your academic and extracurricular endeavors. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and care that went into your application and want to assure you that your candidacy received thorough and serious consideration. Because we received tens of thousands of applications for an incoming class of approximately 1,700 students, we must decline the vast majority of our applications every year. All of our admission decisions are made through an exhaustive committee review process. As a result, all decisions are final, and we are unable to consider appeals of any kind. Please visit our page of frequently asked questions for answers about our admission process. I would also like to share an article I wrote for the LA Times, which you might find relevant today. We are all complimented by your interest in Stanford, and thank you for the hard work your application represents. You have our best wishes for your college education. Sincerely, some guy. I know this is the 4th time I've read it, but every time I get to this middle part, I sort of feel something inside. It's reality setting in, wow, this sucks. Yeah, I mean, I only read the first line 8 years ago. Now I'm reading the full thing, but yeah, it's interesting to think about. I don't know. It is what it is. That's my story. I hope it was relevant to someone. In the whole era of everyone being so happy of getting into their dream college and uploading that video to YouTube, there's probably thousands of other people who are just crushed by their dream college rejecting them, like me. And sometimes you want to be silent about it. You want to say, I'm not proud of this. I'm sad in myself. Look at all these people that are getting into their dream schools, and I'm not one of them. And then some level you wish you were them, and you just hate yourself because you couldn't work hard enough. You didn't do the right things. Everything is just, you weren't good enough. It really comes down to that feeling. Hopefully this is useful to somebody. Maybe it would have been useful to me 8 years ago. But yeah, this is just something to think about. I'm doing okay. I won't say I'm doing spectacular. I won't say I'm doing awful. This is just another piece of my journey. So yeah, that was it. I'm terrible at ending things, as you can tell. I've been rambling for much longer than I should have. But hopefully you found this, I don't know, meaningful in some way. Maybe I'll find it meaningful in some way. But yeah, maybe I'll see you in another video. Coming soon, I guess. I keep telling myself that, but anyways, yeah. This is the 12th, so I have no wiggle room on uploading this, but hopefully there's more to come. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, hopefully my story, gave you some insights or things to think about or someone to laugh at. Who knows? Thanks for watching. Bye.